A number of you have reached out in the comments and shared, hey, Azul, I've really never been that great of an investor. I've really never gotten great investment returns. It seems like I'm always just a little bit behind. If I'd gotten in 6 months earlier, I would have done a lot better. So Azul, help me think about how can I be a better investor? And that's what today's video is on. So let's go for a walk and let's talk about this important topic. So, you know, there's a lot of strategies that can work. There's not one strategy. Like Warren Buffett is really a value investor. He tries to buy companies that are worth $100, and for whatever reason, he can buy it for $80. He calls that his margin of safety, right? So even if he's wrong, even if the company has headwinds, that he's still likely going to be okay because of that margin of safety. So that's value investing. But what I want to share is there's no one style for everybody. There's multiple styles that can work. I think one of the key principles that's really important is having the discipline to stick with your style, to stick with your investment strategy in both good times and bad times. Because if you're trying to chase what worked last year or the year before that, that's one of the ways that you get hurt. And I'll caution you, anytime you hear yourself saying, I only need this to work for, you know, another year. I only need this to work for 6 more months. That's a warning sign. I'm old enough, I remember a show called Lost in Space, where the robot would say, warning, warning. And, you know, I have that happen to me, where I'm like, you know, I only need this to work for another year or another 2 years. And warning signs go off in my head. And because I've been doing this for so long, I'm tuned into it. And I always pause and I stop and I say, okay, I'm fortunate I work with a group of professional investors, and we can bounce ideas off of each other and just share. You know, I'm getting this sense that, you know, maybe I'm getting a little greedy here. Or maybe I'm getting complacent. Maybe, you know, this company has done so well for so long, I'm getting overconfident in it. So the second thing I want to say is, you know, it's important to be able to identify your emotions, and whether you're being driven by fear and greed or whether you're being driven by logic. And I think, you know, for most people, picking individual stocks as an independent investor, it takes a fair amount of research to do it. It's not that you can't do it, but it takes a fair amount of research. The world changes very quickly, right? The nice thing is we all have access to so much information that when I started in the industry over 20 years ago, having access to information was a point of difference. But now all the information is available to everybody. There's been a number of regulations that have come into place that makes it much easier for everybody to have access to the same information at the same time, and for the most part, free or very inexpensively. So access to information is no longer a point of difference. It's now a point of parity. And so what is a point of difference, though, is the ability to identify the emotions and to try to, we're human, right? I mean, we've been evolving for millions of years. And so those emotions were designed to help our species survive. And it's really just been in the last 200 years that investments have come onto the horizon for the average person. Really not even 200 years for the average person. I would say less than 50 years for the average person. But we haven't evolved yet to take care of that. So we have to really be conscious of it because our human emotions work against us. So the first one is knowing what your investment style is and having the discipline to stick with it in good times and bad. The second one is being attuned to your emotions, being able to label it for what it is, being able to call it out and hit pause. Anytime something feels good, I'll give you another one. If it feels good, like during COVID when the market was down, it was the fastest drop ever in U.S. stock market history. And if you sold out of the market and it felt good, that should be a warning sign, right? It felt good because it was causing a lot of pain, because nobody knew, was this going to cause a Great Depression or not? So another warning sign is if it feels good. It's not just greed, but it's also if it's like, whew, you know, I got rid of that risk and I'm going to come back in. You know, in COVID's case, the market went down about 30% before it started to recover. And a lot of people were like, well, I'm going to come back in when the market's down 50%, and won't I be smart? And as is often the case, you don't get a chance to do it. And that leads to the fourth item, which is, you know, if you're out of the market for a month or two, depending on what the market does, you know, it could get painful. It could get more difficult to get back in. But where I really see a lot of damage is when people stay out of the market. So as I record this, just recently, there was the debt ceiling fiasco taking place in Congress and Senate, and seems like we go through this every year. So fortunately, we went through it, but, you know, there were people that were like, you know, this is kind of scary. Maybe, plus there were the bank failures recently. Maybe I should take some chips off the table, right? People are saying that clearly the U.S. economy is slowing down. Is there going to be a recession? Is there going to be a significant pullback in the market, right? And in the economy right now, we're definitely seeing a slowdown. But for people that were fearful about that and maybe pulled their money out of the market, you know, if they were out of the market for a couple weeks while the debt ceiling debate took place and they said, okay, that's now behind us, and I can get back into the market, you know, being out of the market for 2 weeks, probably, this is not, I need to say this is not financial advice. I certainly do not have a crystal ball. I don't know what the market's going to do. But for the most part, if you're out of the market for 2-3 weeks, the market can move against you, right? You can choose to get more aggressive in the market goes down, or you can choose to get less aggressive and take some chips off the table, and maybe the market shoots back up. But if you're out of the market for a couple weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, you can get hurt, but the odds of really life-changing hurt is lower, right? So it's not just getting out of the market, but you have to have a plan to get back in. And I think that's one of the fundamental things. First off, don't try to time the market. Multiple studies have shown just how difficult it is for a variety of reasons. It's outside of the scope of this video, but I think the odds are 80% against you for timing the market. And if you're interested in why I feel that way, leave a comment and I'll share that. But, you know, have a long-term asset allocation. It's okay to be boring with your investments. Have a long-term asset allocation and let time help you, as opposed to time hurting you and putting the odds against you. I want to have time in my favor, and I wanted to improve the likelihood of me succeeding, not improving it. So it's time in the market as opposed to timing the market. And speaking of time in the market, it's time for me to say, if you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to enjoy this video up here where I talk about average income for retirees, and this video down here that talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.